If you want to quit your job in 2026, starting an Airbnb business will be the easiest way. And in this video, I will teach you how to build an income of over $1,500 a week before you quit your job. Just like my student Trevor, he just launched a top 1% property in Fort Worth while maintaining a full-time career. I have students in over 40 countries and they've made billions of dollars through my coaching. So hit subscribe, let's get you started and add you to that billion-dollar wall of fame. The way that we will structure this video will be step by step. You can come back and revisit the sections as you launch your business. I hope that works for you. But first, let's cover some terms and definitions and some myth busting, so that way you know what you're really getting yourself into in this business and what you can really expect. First, an Airbnb business isn't just Airbnb. We say it here for the algorithm. You know how YouTube works, right? What you're starting is a short-term rental business. It's in the industry of hospitality. So another thing you may hear from people is that this is real estate, but that's actually not true. My first unit cost me $4,000 to start. I've since made over $10 million in the space, all owning no property. By the way, my name's Sean. It's nice to meet you. Now, the myth busting about this business model is it's not passive. It may never be passive, but once you're operating, it does take very little time. The lion's share of your time will be spent doing research, which you can do any hour of the day. You can moonlight this while working your job and then launching. What I had Trevor do in this example was I had him take a weekend, take a sick day or a PTO day on a Friday or a Monday and dedicate 3 entire days, weekend included, to doing the staging. And this is how you will launch a property while full-time. We will research at night and we're going to deep dive on that next. Then you will find a property that meets all the things that we said we needed in our Airbnb based on that research. We will negotiate the deal and then we will launch. And that launch you'll do over a weekend. And if you have to then do a couple evenings because you're not done, you can still get a property up within 4 or 5 days max. And then you'll be up in a week. And that's really good while working full time. So my friends, let's talk about research. If you want to find out what properties make the most money on Airbnb, you'll be surprised to find that you go to Airbnb to do your research. People will try to talk you into using AirDNA or Mashvisor or any of these other softwares. But let me tell you, in my 11 years as the biggest coach in the world at this, that's inefficient. The reason why a software can't help you do your research is because Airbnb has an algorithm. Just like YouTube, that's how you found this video, or Instagram. These algorithms try to predict what's going to perform the best. And then it's going to serve you what performs the best. So if you wanted to know what performs the best on Airbnb, you want to load Airbnb search and go search in the area that you would like to do short-term rentals. I do recommend starting in your backyard. This is a business best practice. This isn't a guarantee that your backyard will have the most profitable Airbnb ever, but you can also lose money by being 5 hours away from a property and something goes wrong and you can't get there in time to fix it. So being local to your Airbnb will help prevent mistakes. And preventing mistakes is more important than just a few percentages of upside. You can always go to where all the best Airbnbs are later, but on that note, places that are known for having the best Airbnbs, those will also be the places that have the best hosts. I have a video that you can watch after this one to start your market research journey, the best 20 markets to start in. And what you're going to notice is there's a ton of regular markets that you can do Airbnb in that are going to be easy to do. We want to start in a market where the average host is a bit average. You don't want your first Airbnb to be next door to the best Airbnb hosts in the world. Because remember, the Airbnb algorithm is going to predict what's going to make the most money, and a host that is really good at photography and customer service and everything else, that's going to perform well in Airbnb's algorithm, won't it? So if you want to be the best in a market, just find a market where people aren't that good and you'll make a lot of money there. With that said, the end of this video, I will have a playlist on market research because that's exactly where you're going to start. Click it at the end and it's going to be down below. To summarize what you're going to find in that playlist to help you manage your expectations for search, we're going to try to find properties that we can prove are making money. And this is actually kind of easy on the Airbnb platform. You find what's at the top of the algorithm, first page, click on those listings, and then we go look at the calendar and see if the calendar has bookings. Anytime that a listing has bookings on Airbnb, you're going to see that the dates are crossed out. A lot of people might go, well, it's an Airbnb, maybe the owner blocked it. But then you can go look at the reviews too. If the reviews have 2, 3, or 4 reviews a month, that is a full-time Airbnb listing. So you can then count on the fact that all the future blocked out dates are actually bookings. Then we can look at the prices per those dates. You can search Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Airbnb will give you the total. You can search Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Airbnb will give you the total. So something you will learn at length from me for free, by the way. This is all free. You're going to learn how to take these numbers and find out what a listing is making full month. We can even find out what a listing is making all year through my market research. And because you're on the Airbnb platform, you can then look at the photos and ask yourself why. Why is this listing making the most money? Because one thing that AirDNA or Mashvisor or these other softwares cannot do, they cannot look at the photos and tell you why. All they do is scrape the data. 4 bedrooms here, they have a hot tub there. Anything that can be clicked, they can scrape. But what you're going to find in your market research is shoppers don't care about the ones and the zeros. They fall in love through the photos and they click based on the photos and they buy based on the photos. So you'll find listings that have less stuff clicked than other ones, but they still win because they show more in the photos. They're winning through the photos. They're getting trust from the guest in the photos. They're doing something magical and fun. Like this Airbnb of mine is completely orange for a reason. I wanted something fun that people would click on. I did it for the photos. AirDNA won't say, oh yeah, this listing's winning because this one's orange where the rest of the neighborhood is white or blue. It's not going to tell you that, but that's the truth. So my friends, market research, this chunk, to learn how to do it and conduct it, maybe 10 hours total. If you're really picky or in a harder market, you might end up spending 16 to 20 hours total doing research. Your goal is to find winning listings, find out why they win, and then kind of copy them is something that we're going to talk about next. So 10 hours for research, let's move on. Phase 2, my friends, is to come up with a design plan based on your research, based on the competition that you found, and then also find a property that meets the right requirements for you to launch. So when you do your market research, you're going to make a list in a Google Sheet, nice and easy, don't have to do anything crazy, just a Google list, a list of all the Airbnb links, okay? And I want you to reference those. You could even make a wish list on Airbnb. As a traveler, just click the hearts and you can organize all those into a wish list too. When you're a host, you will use that wish list to do pricing stuff if you pick up a property that actually competes with your wish list. That's for a month from now, okay? Let's pocket that for later. Your wish list and that Google Sheet will show you a trend. Do listings have hot tubs? Do they have pools? Do they have nice kitchens? Does the kitchen have an island? How many king beds are there? Is there a presence of bunk beds or not? How's the art? What wall colors are there? Are people really progressive in their design styles? Are they being more classic, mid-century modern, farmhouse, stuff like that? How are the photos? Are the photos good photos? Or are the photos kind of junk, like bad lighting, kind of blurry? If you find listings that are making money that have bad photos, that is number one, you're going to win, okay? That is easy, easy money. And I would say, if you wanted to really shorten your market research, just find listings with bad photos that are profitable. But then from there, of course, we're wanting to beat those listings. At this phase 2, we want to confirm that we know what guests require from a listing, whether it's listing size or whether it's key amenities like a hot tub or whatever. We also want to identify if those competitors are making mistakes, write those down because we want to beat them where they're bad at this. We don't want to tell them what they're doing wrong. We're just going to beat them. And then we need to take those prerequisites now, and we want to go into the real estate market and find properties for rent that match what we're looking for. Now, here's what's not obvious that every guru misses. When they do AirDNA-based research, most gurus miss the fact that every building has its own personality. Not every pool is as pretty as the next, right? Some look resort style, some look really cool and enchanted, some look very crisp and clean and modern. Not every property has a freestanding soaking tub, and those are magic for bookings. These features, architectural features that come with the property before you spend $1, can be the things that make or break your listing. So we're looking for a magical property that has some real cool personality. I like exposed brick. I like exposed wood in the ceilings. I like vaulted ceilings. I like loft style, like old history kind of properties. Of course, we touch on that in that 20 easy markets video that I mentioned. And once you have that short list of properties in your target market, we're going to start calling some landlords. Now, before we talk about calling landlords, please like the video. I really would appreciate that. Some people forget. We get so involved in the education. Now, plot twist for calling landlords. I also have a playlist for this. Just shoot me, I guess. Everything's free here on the channel. I have a whole playlist on calling and pitching landlords. on this channel. So again, you will, after the market research playlist, you'll go into the playlist on pitching landlords. I'll put that down below so that way you kind of have everything in one place. I hope that works for you guys. But I want to give you the stuff that you need to know right now to kind of help you big picture. One of the main problems that people do when they call landlords is, one, they've never been a salesperson before. And you will have to be okay with a little bit of sales. It's the way the world works. If you want to own a business and you want to quit your job, you're going to have to be more self-reliant. You're going to have to be prospecting, self-advocating. You have to be a go-getter a bit. The reason why jobs exist is because they're safe. And most people take the safe option. This is where you're going to have to really break out of a mindset if you're stuck here. I had to go homeless. I'm going to be honest. I was in sales when I made my first 6 figures, but I still didn't learn the big lesson. I was in music school, got into sales, dropped out of music school. That was sad. I should have stayed. I love music. Got promoted into sales management, went homeless because I failed at management, and from that homelessness, I started to learn a lot of lessons on self-reliance. I was good at sales because I wanted somebody to tell me I was good at something, and I would work 7 days a week so my boss would give me a pat on the back. I was really easy to motivate, but I was really easy to control. Jobs give you all of the comforts that keep you on the wheel. They give you the motivation, they give you the encouragement, the validation, they give you steady income that you're afraid to walk away from. And in homelessness, I learned that nothing's safe, even a career. So I hope that you do better than me here, that you don't wait until you're homeless to learn that you need to quit this job. We want to get ahead of that. And I do believe, this is my honest take, that sales, learning to influence, is one of the most powerful things that you can do in the world, in the whole wide world, because it applies everywhere in your life. Not just getting a landlord to say yes to letting you short-term rent their property. It influences how you deal with your family, your friends, your relationships, businesses that you start in the future, your confidence, your social media, if you create content, all of it is influence-driven. And here's another myth that we can break. There's many types of sales personalities. There's a company called Salesforce. You can tell in the name, they care a lot about sales. They wrote a book called The Challenger Sale. And it's a really fun book because basically the book says that you need to insult people to sell certain types of people. Like at a high level in big business, like in the tech world, you want a tech company to buy something, you need to offend a senior engineer. Real kind of fun. But in my world of hospitality, Airbnb, if I want to sell somebody who's staying in my house something, oh no, I can't offend them. Like, I'll get a 1-star review, I'll get banned on Airbnb. Sales is not one size fits all. So many different personality types work for different types of sales. And so the first thing that matters the most in sales, because there's so many different ways that you can go, the core is you. Maintaining an authentic center, a trustworthy center. See, as I'm talking to you right now, you don't have any red flags. But if I was like, super like shifty and nervous and said, and I'm fidgeting and go, you guys watch my video and you might, I think I'm confident that you'll like my video. Okay. Like that's not authentic, right? That preparation is what makes you seem authentic. And so you don't have to be someone else. You just have to be confidently you and just engage. And if you have a normal conversation with anybody in your life, sales is the art of getting you to that point where you can be normal, but also have an outcome in mind. And it's the outcome in mind that usually throws people off. When you know you want something from somebody, you will treat them like you want something from them. Gives up the ghost. You see it all the time on these scammy ads on Instagram and YouTube. All these people want stuff from you, and you can tell in the first second that they want something from you. Like, for example, if I wanted $1 million from you, like the end of this video was like, give me $1 million. I'm doing a great job right now, not letting up that I want $1 million from you, right? For example, the better that we can be present and not focused on the future, the better that the sale will go. So again, the playlist that I have for you is everything sales as well. So you can start to learn the sales techniques, the topic matter, what we call product knowledge, the industry stuff that you need to know to talk to a landlord. And I even have my verbatim phone script for when you first call a landlord in that playlist. But all of this, as free as it is often not acted on. And this, my friends, the playlist, Negotiating with Landlords, will be the end of phase 2. Even though this is in the playlist, I want to remind you from that playlist, when you negotiate with a landlord, you're going to try to do it in person whenever possible. It just maximizes your influence. And then when you start the lease, we want to pick a lease start date that gives us enough time to get the furniture to show up. So here's the hack. Find the couch, the bed frame you want, find all the goodies that you want, and identify the stuff that has the longest shipping time. Some stuff will take 2 or 3 weeks. You can buy stuff today to arrive in 3 weeks and just start your lease in like 18 or 20 days. So your lease starts right before that one thing arrives. And if the rest of the stuff takes a week, well then 2 weeks from now, you'll buy that stuff too. And it will all arrive roughly the same day, 2 days after your lease starts, or the day after your lease starts. If you can save yourself 2 weeks of waiting for stuff, sitting on a lease that you signed empty, you're going to make 2 weeks more of profit over the lifetime of your lease. That's a big deal. And so now we want to start the lease on a Wednesday, most likely, because we want stuff to arrive on Wednesday and arrive on Thursday, get all that stuff in, and Thursday night, I want you to have all of your stuff. And then I want you to paint Thursday night, if you can. You're going to do an accent wall here, maybe paint the living room, something like that. And then Friday, you're going to throw all that stuff in there. You're going to move in the couch and the beds and stuff. And since you're employed, grab a couple friends or hire a couple movers and get this done all in a day. Time beats money right now, because if you don't get this done by the weekend, you might have to wait a whole other week to finish this, right? And the loss of 1 week of operations could be like $700. And so $700 could be the amount of money that you are maximum willing to spend to make sure that it gets done in a day. For example, right? The loss of income from waiting a week can be offset by spending $300 on movers. There is a third playlist on interior design. When you do your market research, great. The interior design playlist, I want you to watch those videos too, because they'll help you better understand what you're looking for with your competition, and you'll better make a design plan, okay? So phase 1 and 2, there's the design playlist. Please watch some of those videos to understand what goes in a kitchen, what goes in a bedroom, what goes in a bathroom, what goes in the living room, etc. And so now phase 3, you're standing in your place. You got the keys. Good job. Movers are moving stuff in. You've got accent walls painted. You might even make some cool LED signs like I did. Nothing rhymes with you either. That's funny. Most people don't get an orange joke. And once you have all the stuff, you're blitzing. You want this up as fast as possible. And you'd like to get it done by like Sunday at noon, because at noon, when you go to take all the photos, you're going to realize you forgot stuff. This par for the course happens all the time. You are going to make a Target or a Walmart run or somewhere, and you're going to buy some extra towels. You're going to buy a toaster, right? You're going to buy some stuff that you just forgot. And it's absolutely okay. This is part of the process. You will never do it right. Perfect is the enemy of good. So you want to launch, you want to get there and go, oh my God, I forgot 10 things, and go buy them and come back. And then you're going to do photography. I've got a confession. This property, even though it makes $600 a night or more, and the one down the street that does the same, big houses, all of my photos I took with my iPhone, and I processed them through a company that I created. It's an AI-driven thing called the B&B Photo Factory. It takes all of the photos and it recreates them. It'll change the angle of the shot, the color grading of the shot, the composition of the shot. It'll make all the shots cleaner, more in focus. It'll declutter the space if you made a mistake. It'll make the beds look nice and crispy if you're not very good at making the beds yet. It'll fix all of your problems. So I will leave a link down below where you can use the B&B Photo Factory. It's basically a form where you drop the photos in and it processes it for you. Here's the cool thing though. I have built into the B&B Photo Factory a tutorial on how to take all of the photos for your place. So if you just want to learn how to take the photos and not use the B&B Photo Factory to process them, still click that link. And there are private tutorial videos on how to shoot the living room, how to shoot the kitchen, how to shoot the bedrooms, so that way you can do it yourself for free. But if you want help because you think your photos look a little bit mid still, then just drop them into the Photo Factory and we'll process them for you and give you world-class photos. I made a sandbox of listings in my portfolio. I have over 150, by the way. And some of them I wanted to see how AI influences stuff. It's like my little AI test portfolio. All of my photos for all of the listings are all AI. And I get 5-star reviews all the time, listings that are guest favorites, and that includes for accuracy and stuff. So don't be afraid that a photo-generated version of your listing would be inaccurate where somebody gets upset. I had this property called the Red Room where I had a piano in a very ugly room, and I said, ChatGPT, what color should my listing be? And it's like, this red color seems good. I'm like, okay, let's use the red. Give me an idea with red walls and this piano that's in the room. It gave me an image, and I copied the image, and that was my design style. And that listing is popping right now. You just need an empty photo of the room and then reference photos of the things you like. You can have a photo of the couch you like, photo of the art that you like, and give ChatGPT 8 different photos and go, here's the empty room, here's my inspiration, help me create the space. If you're still here following along and I haven't scrambled your brain yet, good job. I get really tangential because I'm ADHD. I've got all this wisdom and stuff that I don't think is relevant until later on in the video, and then I backtrack, and that's the problem with this channel. You're going to learn everything, but you're going to have to hang on sometimes or watch a video twice. Don't feel bad. I'm very good at what I do, but sometimes I'm just bad at communicating it. So thank you for hanging in there with me as we get into phase 4. Now here in phase 4, you have your photos so you can create your listings next. Now this is not an Airbnb business, let me remind you, but you can start just on Airbnb. Some would argue this is best because the Airbnb algorithm needs to see that you're a good listing and you rank more aggressively on Airbnb when you behave. Other channels, we don't know if they incentivize this as much. I haven't seen comprehensive data that VRBO has an amazing algorithm that really knows the best listings and stuff. I don't think they punish people as much either. Same thing with Booking.com and these other channels. And since Airbnb is really picky, let's start with Airbnb, kind of learn the ropes. But you very quickly will add at least a second channel. A lot of markets either use Booking.com or VRBO. For example, markets like Miami or New York or Philadelphia, Booking.com. Markets like the Carolinas or the Smoky Mountains or Denver or Park City, Utah, VRBO. Booking.com tends to be more international, Eastern Europe, Asia travel, and VRBO tends to be more targeted for vacation rental houses, usually. Now, there are a lot of channels, and what I would like you to do when you do decide to go multi-channel is to be on one of those two or both responsibly. And then for any other channels that you might want to get on, the way that we do our homework here is we just load the website, kind of like we did with Airbnb, trip.com, search, and then see if there's listings locally for your type of property in your market and see if they have reviews. Do it for hopper.com. There's one called Whim Stay, like on a whim, last minute stay. Priceline.com is an extension of Booking.com. Expedia owns VRBO. So some of these, you're going to see the same listings. But there's probably 5 or 6 solid channels per market that do get bookings. So the big 3 and then some other ones. And to connect those, you'll use what's called a channel manager. It's a software that allows you to plug all those into like a centralized brain, and then you log into that central cockpit and run your whole business from there. I use one called Guesty, and I'll put a link down below so you can use it. The primary advantage of using Guesty at this point, all other nerdy stuff aside, is I teach. It's one of my favorite things to do is teach short-term rentals. And because I teach and use Guesty, anything that I teach you to do, it will be easier for you to do it on Guesty because I'm teaching on Guesty. So that's one solid reason to use Guesty. And I'm also making a course for their pricing software. There's things called pricing engines. We'll deal with that later. By the way, that's a month away. But they help you manage your prices, and Guesty has one built into their system. I'm making a course on how to use that one. It's going to be kind of cool. And so you'll get some free education from me if you use my Guesty link and join Guesty through that link. You get that course for free. Bonus. Tangent. Let's rein it back in. Let's talk about your listing. You have your photos. Listing completion, which is filling out all the bells and whistles, is number 1 for an Airbnb listing. A lot of these are called levers. Airbnb wants you to check all the amenities boxes. Something that's new to 2025, 2026 is amenities checkboxes now live where the photos live, which is wild. So you're gonna create the listing. It takes like 4 or 5 steps. They made it super easy on the front end, but then you have to go back into the listing and then do a bunch of stuff on the back end. Airbnb makes it so easy to start, but really non-obvious to complete. Publish your listing, go back in and right away make a bunch of changes. You're going to go into your photos and you're going to click all the amenities boxes that exist for every room. They break it down per room. There are extra text boxes for you to fill out. Amenities to check, you declare what size beds you have and how many of them, all this extra really good stuff. You'll make a check-in guide on Airbnb. You'll have house rules and all this other stuff, like a house manual too, where somebody can check for resources to learn everything. This is really great if your property is kind of funky and there's things that people need to know about the front door or the washer. It's also a great place for you to leave the Wi-Fi information, all this good stuff. Now you can, with a channel manager, automate a lot of messages that people get where you can send them the check-in guide, you can send them their door code, you can send them all the Wi-Fi stuff and all this good stuff later. You can pre-build in messages into Airbnb and kind of have them saved, so that way you can just kind of send stuff that's a template too. Airbnb's got some really cool resources like that. And another pro tip for you is when you create your first Airbnb listing, I want you to make another dummy one and set it to like $1 million. Make it unattainably expensive. And then that allows you, since you have 2 listings, to activate something called Pro Tools. There might come a time where you don't need 2 listings to activate Pro Tools, and you can actually check on after you have 1 listing, you go to airbnb.com/multi-calendar. And it would force load Pro Tools, which allows you to get a whole bunch of extra widgets that you'll use in phase 5. Let's cut the tangent right back into phase 4, creating your listing. This is another deep topic that kind of changes. Every 6 months, Airbnb changes what they care about, makes new feature updates, stuff like that. So I have to make you a new playlist. This is the first time that I don't already have a playlist for you. It will be one on the algorithm and one about listings, okay? And it will have 4 or 5 of my most up-to-date education on this topic, including private coaching sessions. I will include listing deep dives with real operators, with real properties, in real competitive markets, and you're gonna learn everything right for free in my algorithm playlist. I will also put that down below. So in review, your resources down below are a market research playlist. It's going to be an interior design playlist, negotiating with landlords, arbitrage playlist, new algorithm playlist. Number 5, phase 5 will also give you another playlist, which is pricing strategy. And that way you can learn the numbers, the way that we manage that. We'll talk about that more in phase 5. Now, I know this is a lot, my friends, but I'm going to say it. It's not hard. It's just complex. It's just a lot. This industry, people really don't educate themselves, like I said. And I've given you 6 to 10 hours of study that you need to do to really know your stuff at this point. And most people won't put in that 6 to 10 hours. Tony Robbins said in one of his books that I read that 90% of people don't get through the first chapter or the first 10% of a book. And so even though this may seem like a lot, this is all preparatory for you to be literally the top 1% in your market. And if you do 10 hours of study or 12 hours of study, you will know more about everything in this industry than most people, because I think I need to tell you something, a secret that has somehow long been forgot, but Airbnb started not as a business opportunity. Airbnb started as a side hustle, have an extra room kind of thing. This industry has always been real estate agents and people with extra spaces that want to do the barest of minimums to get the money that they can get. This is low barrier to entry. This is not hard to start. It's easy to make some money, and it's easy to stay in the game for the most part. And for that reason, people don't commit to innovation. They don't commit to being competitive. Most of the people that you see in the hosting space are bad at this, and you can still make money being bad at this. So I want you to look at the fact that we've had a big conversation already as your opportunity, because other people won't put in the work. And even just 10 hours of work puts you at the top 10%. That must feel really, really good. And of course, if you do subscribe, if you're still here after that godly awful editing I did when I asked for the subscribe button click, you will also be the first person to see the cutting edge stuff that we come up with next year and the year after. This channel has been the center of thought leadership for years. When Brian Chesky changed the algorithm to be like Amazon, I called it a year before he confessed to it. When the Airbnb bust hit in 2023, I called it in the summer of 2022. We usually come up with stuff about a year early here, and a year head start on your competition is lethal. That's huge. Most industries, they get weeks. You get a whole year. A couple quick tips that you will see in the Airbnb algorithm playlist. Your hero photo may not be your best photo, because your best photo may just kind of sink into the rest of the page. There's going to be 18 to 24 listings that people are looking at on the first page, and then yours could look just like everybody else's. We want to contrast, like this orange room. This orange room pops off the page. Everything else is white and blue and stuff around here. Orange, boom, sticks out. Also, outdoor photos tend to do better on hero photos because people just have to know what's inside the house. It's the psychological trap where people like the outside, they want to see the inside because people do have preferences on colors and design styles, and they just don't know what you have yet. If you showed your inside and it was pretty but not a style they liked, there's no reason to click. And Airbnb still rewards clicks for interest, so we want to clickbait people by having an outdoor photo if at all possible, because it just does increase your rank. And this is where we can introduce an element called game theory. A lot of what you can do will be different than your competitors, even though you all have the same moves and the same options. So you can choose how to design your living room. And because of the way we did our market research, we're going to try to design something that gives guests what they want, but gives them something new that they can't get anywhere else. This deviation is a bit of game theory. You're throwing scissors when everyone else is throwing paper, for example. The amenities that you choose, the way that you market the place, listing distribution, your settings like minimum night stay and prices and all this stuff, this is all like playing a game of chess, except there's like a bunch of really wonky pieces and people can move them any way that they want. So it's more like open world. It's like a little bit more like World of Warcraft maybe. And in our Airbnb World of Warcraft scenario here, what we have is a combination of settings that give a listing search initially and a price point that also gives that listing a boost in strength, potentially. So your listing is created, other people's listings are created, and they all have kind of like a base score. And that base score is a combination of the stuff you have, the trust that you've earned, which takes a while, and then the price that you're at. Airbnb says everything we know about your listing, you should be $200. But your competitor has more trust, more reviews, same listing, they could be $215. So when your listing is new, you will be cheaper than everybody for the first day, week, 10 days to try to get momentum and get reviews. And so that leads us to stage 5, which is operation of the listing that has been created. You've launched everything, you've created the listing, and now day 2, 5, 10, you're running your business. It's going to be a combination of making guests happy, making sure that your listing is very clear and that your check-in guide is very clear and that you're quick to answer questions if you can, which you can do through automations, and then changing your prices to make sure that you get bookings. Now, here's where most people might get concerned, right? I've got a full-time career. How can I run an Airbnb business with a full-time 9 to 5? Well, here's what's really, really fun. Your checkout will probably be like 11 a.m. And then you'll have a housekeeper that comes and cleans, and then your check-in is normally 4 p.m. Initially, you can change this. If you have a 9 to 5, you can still have checkout at 11 a.m. or even make the checkout noon if you want to be a trooper. And then you can make the check-in 6 p.m. just so that way you have time to like be available, something like that. And this little change allows a housekeeper to show up at noon. So at lunch, you've got your lunch at noon or wherever. See, now you can line up your lunch break with a little bit of communication time. Housekeeper shows up and says, we need XYZ supplies, or the guest isn't checked out yet, or the place is really dirty, whatever. You do a little bit of conversation with the cleaner. You're probably going to use a cleaner with short-term rental experience, so they're gonna handle most everything. And anything that they can't handle, like purchasing new supplies, once you clock out of your job, you go to Target or wherever, buy the couple things, show up to the property, drop the stuff off. And since check-in wasn't until 6 p.m. anyway, you've got the time. That's all you have to do is make sure that you've got a little window of time between when you get off the clock and when a guest can check in so you can restock anything that's missing. And now I'm going to be honest too, we're over planning here because guests don't always check in minute 1 of when they're allowed to. And you don't need to restock stuff that often. Your shampoo will last a month, right? You get a big thing of shampoo, it's gonna last forever. You have a 12-pack of toilet paper, that's gonna last forever too. So what we're doing is we're planning for the rare case that you need to show up to your property, which is very infrequently. Now, once in a while, a guest will have a hard time checking in. So if you get off work at 5 and a guest is trying to check in at 6, they'll call you and go, I can't get the lockbox to work, or I'm confused. You need to be available by phone. That's really what we need from you, is just to be there for the guest. So if you would like, you can have your check-in starting at 5 if your career ends at 5 p.m. And you can text someone at lunch going, hey, housekeeper said that we're out of toilet paper. I get off work at 5. I will be there at 5:45 with more toilet paper. And every Airbnb guest in the world is going to go, oh my God, you're amazing. You're the best. Because here's another cool thing. This is the coolest thing about short-term rentals. If you are a host, they know that you're a human and they expect you to be a human. And if you're a human with a job, you have one Airbnb and a job, and it comes out with your Airbnb guests that you're doing this on the side and that you care that much to show up, your Airbnb guests are going to love you. They will love that story. That story is going to be a beautiful one. And they'll go, Greg or Sasha, she's amazing. She got off work and brought me stuff right away. It's so cool to see this host do all these amazing things. There is something really romantic about home share still. Airbnb has had a big issue in the media because there's a bunch of big people like me, hundreds of properties, a lot of automations. I'm not going to show up to your house if you're in Oklahoma City or Scottsdale. I'm in Dallas right now. I can't get there. Right? So that part of the industry has had a net negative on the whole brand, but you're not going to be part of that brand, at least not for a while. And when you do get that big, I have learned so many lessons in this space. I've had 1,000 one-star reviews from mistakes that I made being some cocky capitalist guy who thought he could do anything. I've taken my share of lumps and I've eaten my humble pie, and I will tell you from all of my hard-won experience what you shouldn't do. But that, again, is months and months from now. And back from that tangent, welcome back, right? Once a guest stays, they're going to leave. The housekeeper will show up again and clean before the next guest arrives. We're going to take photos. Your housekeeper's going to do photo documentation. They're going to communicate with you. You're going to communicate with the guests. You're going to say some nice stuff after a guest leaves, thank them for the stay, invite them back again, and get them to leave you a 5-star review. And boom, magic. You've got bookings and you've got money. Now, here's the part about making $1,500 a week, right? We've done the whole model, right? This is one property. If you have an apartment, like a studio, you can get this done for like $6,000. And that studio can make you about $1,000 net income per month pretty easily. You might be able to get a little bit more market to market. That changes, okay? If you do a 2-bedroom, you're looking at an $8,000 investment, a 3-bedroom, maybe $11,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment. That 3-bedroom apartment probably will make you $1,500 to $2,500 a month, all right? The sauce to get to $1,500 a week is you're going to repeat this video about 4 times, okay? You're going to plan for a property, negotiate the deal, launch on a Friday, get done by Sunday. Take the photos, upload it. Now you're going to notice that it takes a solid hour and a half a week of operating attention to run an Airbnb. By the time you get to 5 properties and quit your job, you'll be working an extra 10 hours a week max. And by the time you have 5 properties is about the time that I teach my students to shop around for a housekeeper at a discount, to do it for cheaper. And so there's a bunch of cool stuff there that we can talk about later too. And I would like you to commit to growth at this point. If you get to that $1,500 a week between like 3 and 6 properties total, you are now at a spot that you can grow to 15 or 20. There's no difference running 3 to 6 than there is 15 to 20. It's just more check-ins and more cleanings. It's all the same. And that's my favorite thing about this business is through chapters of your growth, everything is exactly the same. Setting up a property, one thing. Cleaning, one thing. Helping guests understand how the lockbox works, one thing. It's just more and more volume. If you can run 3 properties, you will not see a real challenge in this industry till you get to about 30 or 35. You're going to then have new employees or new contractors, new help. You'll have VAs or an assistant manager or stuff like that. I didn't really have a problem in this industry, like as far as my own capabilities, until we had 103 properties and then COVID-19 hit and punched me in the face. And that's why this channel is as big as it is. This is a niche. I'm never going to be famous in short-term rentals, but we had a lot of hosts find this channel in 2020 because it was just really hard. And I tell you this for a real reason. You're growing a business. You cannot be at your red line. Do not ever grow to the point that you are just burning out. Never get that far. Because what will happen is you will start to make some mistakes, and those residual mistakes will start to create scar tissue in your business. You won't maintain your property. You won't restock your property. You won't ask guests to pay for damages that they should pay for because you're too busy. You're going to forget to ask guests for reviews, and that affects your algorithm. You're not going to change your prices as often as you should. All sorts of things will start to slip because you're just too busy and too burned out. COVID-19 taught me how close to that red line I was before I got punched in the face. And business is never perfect, okay? Even if you do this all responsible, right? You're like a good, cautious person, you're going to get some challenges. But that's the best too. Challenges can suck in the moment, but man, they feel so good when you win. And humans, let's be honest, look at us. We have survived this whole time. We are where we are on this planet because we are the culmination of perfection as far as biological evolution is concerned on this planet. Look at everything that we've built on this planet. Do you think that you're not capable of building a little something yourself? You're going to be surprised what you're capable of. You just haven't given yourself a chance yet. And let this be your chance. I would love to hear from you how you did it. So like I promised, your very first next step will be this playlist on market research. If you have questions, hit me in the DMs. I'm here for you guys. And as always, I'll see you on the other side.